Hi guys, today I'm going to be giving an update on how I've been finding the newly released, it's the Chanel Sublimage Concealer. I'm going to be putting that on today and I'll put it underneath one eye, and underneath the other eye I will put on the Chanel, it's the Longwear Concealer. That's the one I've been using for quite a long time now. So we'll have a look at them side by side. In today's video, I won't be going into the description that Chanel gives about this Sublimage Concealer or the ingredients too much, because I did that in my first impression video. And if you'd like to take a look at that, I will put the link up here so you can have a look. But this is the packaging of the Sublimage Concealer. For those of you that haven't seen it, it does come in this glass packaging and has a screw off lid. I'll just hold it up so you can take a look. It is really lovely. It feels quite weighty in the hand, and it just has the screw off lid, and there is a cap on the top there with a little tag so you can just lift it off, which helps protect the concealer. And I'll just lift that off now and I'll just show you the consistency of this concealer. This is quite thick and creamy, and I wouldn't hold it right upside down because it would probably fall out, but as you can see, it has got a really thick creamy consistency. I got mine in the shade 30. This concealer also comes with a little plastic spatula for you to scoop out the product, and also comes with a little brush as well. And the brush itself is actually really soft and angled, and it does put on the concealer really well. I've used this, and I've also used the concealer just by tapping it on with my fingers. And probably out of the two, I just prefer tapping it on with my fingers. Not that there's anything wrong with the brush. As I was saying, it is really beautiful and soft. It just comes down to personal preference, really. So I absolutely love this concealer. It's a concealer that gives me what I've been looking for a long time. The concealers that I have, and I rotate through them and I really enjoy them. But I've often said in my videos, especially when you have more mature skin, so you've got fine lines and wrinkles under your eyes, really what I'm looking for in a concealer is that you use the least amount of product that gives the best coverage. And I find that the Sublimage one ticks those boxes and does that. It is really beautiful. And the ingredients in here are very moisturizing, as it has quite a different few humectants in it. So even though that I have oily skin, for underneath my eyes, I need to keep them really well moisturized, because as soon as you start drying things down underneath your eyes, it just emphasizes the lines and wrinkles even more. So on top of the Sublimage Concealer, like all my other ones, I do put on either the Beiges pressed powder, and I tap that on with my finger, or I put on, which I've been using more of just recently, and it's the Westman Atelier, it's the Vital Skin Care pressed powder, and I think that is a really beautiful powder. It's not really so great all over my face with my oily skin, but it is absolutely perfect for under the eyes. So after I did my first video, one of my subscribers commented and asked if I would put the Sublimage under one eye and then the Chanel Longwear Concealer, which I've had for quite a long time now, under the other eye. So that's what I'm going to do today, so you can take a look. And I'll also show it to you in natural light as well. The only thing that I don't like about the product, and that is the packaging, and it does look really beautiful, but I do find it quite messy. And it's not the fact that if you accidentally put your finger in to get the product out instead of using the spatula, that's why they have preservatives in here, and that's why there are antibacterial agents in there as well. So it's not that bothers me, it's just that it does get quite messy. I think this would have been better in something like, perhaps Chantecaille have a click pen, Sisley have the tube with the metal applicator at the end. I think that would have been lovely. Or the Sublimage line itself has really beautiful packaging, glass, and often that smoky ombre effect. So they just could have had it in a normal sort of casing like this, and with the doe foot applicator, and I think that would have been really beautiful and a lot less messy. That might not bother people, but I just wish they had just considered the packaging a little bit more. As I said, it's just a little bit messy. It doesn't put me off using the concealer though, because the product itself is just absolutely gorgeous. Now this concealer hasn't gone on sale yet in the USA. It is on the Chanel website and it's on there for $95 US, although when you add it to bag it then says that it's sold out, but hopefully it won't be too far away. This concealer does come in 10 shades, and when I was in the Chanel boutique, I did swatch all 10 shades on my arm, and I showed that in my first video. So I've got all my skincare on for the morning, and the last step is sunscreen, and I haven't got on any primer yet. So today I'm going to use the Tom Ford primer. It's the Traceless Soft Matte one, and I just take out a couple of pumps of that because today I'm going to use the Waterfresh Tint as my foundation, and out of all the Chanel foundations it's probably my most favorite one. I really like it. It's one that I can wear both in winter and in the warmer months as well. It's now spring here in New Zealand and the weather is getting a little bit more warmer, and this wears just beautifully, and I need to actually get another one because I've nearly run out of it. So I'm just going to put a couple of pumps of this on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to apply it using the BK Beauty, the 101 brush. Really is a really lovely foundation, this one. I just find that it evens out the skin tone and just gives a really beautiful look. It's really light and just really comfortable to wear, and I just love it that it goes so well with my oily skin as well. Now most of the time with a foundation, with the excess that's left on the brush, I put it over on my eyelids and underneath my eyes as well, but I won't do that today because I find the Sublimage concealer gives enough coverage without wearing a foundation underneath, and I would like you to see them both side by side without any type of coverage under my eyes, so you can have a good look at both of them. And I also wanted to wear this foundation because it is more of a lighter coverage, and I'll use the concealer in a couple of places that I think need extra coverage, so you can see how that looks as well. So with the foundation that's left on the brush, I will put this on my eyelids, but as I was saying, I won't put any under my eyes. So before I put the concealers on, I just want to go through the concerns that I have with my under eye area. I'm 53 years old, I have fine lines and wrinkles under my eyes, and there's also discoloration as well. The darkness under my eyes isn't really that bad. I have it more in each corner through here. This is where the darkness is. The discoloration under here is more, I have quite prominent veins under here. They're a green type of tinge to them, and that's what I want to cover up when I put a concealer on. Now as I was saying, I normally put what's left over, the foundation that I've put on my face, I just put a little bit what's left over under my eyes and then a concealer over the top. I found that I do not need to do that with the Sublimage concealer, and one of the days I accidentally put on the foundation under my eyes first, and it was the Tom Ford, I think it was the Soft Matte foundation, and then I put the concealer over the top, and when I did that I didn't quite like the look of it. I then thought it started to look a little bit thick and probably even dried out a little bit. It might have just been because it was that foundation, I'm not sure, because on all the other days I've just solely put the concealer under my eyes. So the Sublimage concealer has 10 grams of product, and the Chanel Longwear that has 7 grams of product. So you do get a lot of product with this one. This is going to sell for $95 US, and the Chanel Longwear, this sells for $43 US. So this is quite a bit cheaper than the Sublimage, but the Sublimage is one of the more expensive lines. So first of all, I'll swatch these two different concealers on the back of my hand. The Sublimage is in 30 and the Longwear is in B30. So this is the Sublimage, and this one is the Longwear. The Sublimage in the 30 is lighter, just fractionally more than the Longwear one I have. So this gives a really lovely brightening effect under the eye as well. So I'm going to put on the Sublimage concealer first, and I'm just going to use the scoop to take out a little bit of product. I still tend to take out far too much when I scoop some out. You really don't need much at all, and especially today because I'm only going to go under one eye. So I've just got that much on the back of the spatula, and I'm just going to put that on the back of my hand. And like I said, the brush is absolutely fine, although today I am going to put this on using my finger. So I'm just going to start off like I do with all my other concealers, and just start in the very inner corner, and then just tap some underneath. And already it's giving really, really lovely coverage, and I've still got that much concealer left on my hand. I may add a little bit more other days when I've used it and I haven't quite put on enough to begin with, and then I've added a layer over top. That's fine. It never starts to look thick or cakey or anything like that. It is a really lovely concealer. It feels really beautiful under the eye. It's very creamy, and it's just really moisturizing. So I'll just show you, I'll pick up a little bit more with my finger, just a little bit more like that, and I will add some more. But again, I'll just start in the corner and then just tap some out. So with no foundation underneath this concealer, you can see what good coverage it gives. It's really, really great coverage. I think it looks really lovely. As I was saying, it is a little bit lighter than the Chanel Longwear I've got, but I think it gives a really nice brightening effect under the eye. I think it's really, really lovely. So you can see with just the one eye done, and this eye still hasn't got anything on it yet, what a difference it is. This gives great coverage. I think it looks really beautiful under the eye. I've worn this every single day since I did my first video. I've worn it up to, I think the longest that I've worn this concealer was probably up to about 16 hours. I've had some fairly long days doing different things, and it wears just really, really beautifully. So you can see the difference. This still has all the discoloration under here, and this has that really lovely brightening effect as well. I think it looks really lovely. So under the other eye, I'll do the Chanel, the Longwear concealer, and this one does have the doe foot, so it is a bit easier to apply, and normally I just put a little bit in the corner. This doesn't feel as moisturizing as the Sublimage. This isn't as thick as the Sublimage, but it just doesn't feel as moisturizing when you first put it on. So I'm just going to, again, just tap some in the inner corner. This is one that I normally would put over the top of a foundation, and then I'll just take it underneath the eye as well. So I'll just tap through there again and take it through. And I do prefer the shade in the Sublimage. It just gives that a little bit more brightening. So I'll just keep tapping it through, because this is what I do with all my concealers. I just think with the warmth of your fingers, it just helps a product just to meld into your skin just that little bit better. So I can see, this is the first time that I've done this, is in this video, putting them side by side. The Sublimage has far superior coverage to the Longwear. The Longwear is lovely, but I would have to wear a foundation underneath or put more layers on. I really haven't done that with the Longwear before. So really I've used the same amount of product, and under here you can still see my green vein through here, and you can still slightly see it under the side as well, but there's definitely more coverage. I think This gives a really softening effect to under the eye as well. It's quite hard to explain, but it really does look absolutely beautiful. So I can see quite a big difference. I'm tempted to add more concealer. So I will, just for the sake of this video, I'm going to put a little bit more on, but I don't want it to cake up either. So I'm going to have to add a little bit more. Now normally I wouldn't do this, as I was saying. There would be foundation underneath and wouldn't have to do that, but I'm just going to go over it again. I'm just going to hope that it doesn't cake up or start to look too thick. So with the second layer of the Longwear concealer on, I can start to see it just settling just into, I've got sort of quite a prominent wrinkle through here. And I can see it settling in a little bit. If I tap it through, that'll probably take it away. This has given more coverage now that I've added that other layer to it. But I still prefer the Sublimage. It has that brightening effect and it just looks... It looks more moisturised than it does under this eye here. Now I am going to put over the top, I will put on the Westman Atelier, that's the Vital Skincare Pressed Powder under both, so you can see how they look, because that's how I've been wearing the concealer, and I always put it over the top of my concealers just to let it set, and I only use the tiniest amount. But side by side, I do prefer the Sublimage, but it gives a very moisturising, sort of plumped effect to the under eye area. That's probably the best way to describe it. And I love the shade 30. I think it's really lovely. And I hope that you're able to see the different look that it gives. This looks quite flat under the eye. I've never had an issue with the Longwear concealer. I've always thought it was really lovely. But this one is just far, far superior. I think for mature under eyes, it is absolutely gorgeous. So now that both concealers have been sitting there for a few minutes, and that's how I normally do my makeup, really let it settle into the skin. Now I'm going to put on the Westman Atelier Powder. I put this on with my finger as well, just the tiniest amount. It's really just to set the concealer down, and I'm going to do exactly the same under the other eye, and then we'll take a look. And with the concealer that's left on my hand, I'm just going to put some on my face now. This is one of the Sonia G brushes. This brush is a bit firmer than that Chanel brush, the one that came with the Sublimage, so it's just better for the face. So I'm just going to dot it around here in the areas that I think need just that little bit more coverage, and we'll just see how this looks. I haven't done this yet since I've got this concealer. I've only just been using it under my eyes. So up here I have just a couple of faint sunspots. They are getting fainter, which is really good, and I have a little bit of redness just on the side, so I'll put some of the concealer over here as well. Again, I'm really not using much at all. It's just a very small amount. So it does a really beautiful job at covering those areas over the foundation as well. I don't think you can hardly see. There's a sunspot under here, and like I said, I've just got a bit of redness through here, and I had a sunspot there and up here, but I think it's covered it really, really well. So now that I've got the Westman Atelier powder under both eyes and having a good look at both of them, I think the eye that has the Sublimage underneath, I can see it. I don't know whether you'll be able to see it through the camera, but I think there is far more coverage. I can still see it sort of goes sort of more dark in here, and because of the coverage and it has that little bit of that brightening through here, I think it helps just lift under the eye, but it doesn't emphasize things at all. It just looks superior, and this looks even with the powder over top, I think under here still looks more moisturized and more plumped than it does under this eye here. I think there's quite a big difference, and the Sublimage is definitely one that I will be reaching for. I will use up the rest of this over time. I've used about half of it. I think I've got about half to go, and I won't waste it. But the Sublimage is definitely a go-to concealer for me. I think it's really, really beautiful. So now I'm just going to go out into the lounge area and we'll see what it looks like in natural light. So in my lounge is all natural light. I have a really big window in front of me, one to the left and to the right of me as well. So this is the eye with the Chanel Sublimage, and this is the one with the Chanel Longwear. I think that the Sublimage, it just gives a really beautiful, plumped, hydrated look to the eye. I love it that you have to use just the tiniest amount and you get this coverage. I think it's really gorgeous. And I'm also loving the coverage that I've put over the top of the Chanel Waterfresh Tint foundation as well, just to give a little bit more coverage to those areas just through here. I think it looks really lovely. I haven't powdered over the top of this foundation yet. I will do that soon, but I think it looks really lovely. I do think the Sublimage is superior to the Chanel Longwear, and it's just fantastic for mature under eyes. I think it's really, really lovely. So I've now put on the rest of my makeup, and it's been a couple of hours now since I first put on these concealers because I've had to go and do some other things. All the other makeup that I've got on is Chanel as well. So if you want to take a look at what I use, it is in the description box below and everything will be linked. So apart from the packaging, which I think is a little bit messy, I think that the Sublimage concealer is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just having a good look now, and the Sublimage definitely looks better. The Longwear looks okay, but it just hasn't quite got that look that the Sublimage has, and I don't think it's given as much coverage as the Sublimage either. And I know that I keep on saying it, but I do think that the Sublimage, with the ingredients that it has, it gives a plumped effect to the under eye, and I think it's absolutely beautiful and just stunning for mature under eyes. It's a concealer that would look good on anyone of any age, but if you are more mature and you're looking for a really gorgeous concealer, I really do think that you'll love this one. It's really beautiful. And I was saying earlier in the video that I've worn this now well for over a week and tried it out. There were a couple of days where I wore it for a long time during the day. Some days it was 14 hours, and I think there was one other day where I wore it 16 hours, and it looks just as beautiful as it does now. It doesn't start to fade off. It doesn't start to cake up or look too heavy in any way. It is really, really beautiful. So I will wrap it up here. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.